All right, what's happening, everyone? Welcome to a brand new episode of Total Football Club. My name is Alex Perez. You can follow me on Twitter and on Instagram at Alex Perez FC. Subscribe to the podcast on Apple Podcasts, on Spotify, on Google, wherever you get your podcast. And remember, are, of course, a part of the Blue Wire Hustle family. Follow us on Twitter and on Instagram at Total Foot Club. Speaking of Blue Wire Hustle, across the table from me, the one, the only, Nick Dais, my guy, the host, the creator of Veterans Minimum. Dude, you're on the other side of the table today.
Mm-hmm.
I'm occupying your chair.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
It's a first time for everything. No one's ever sat in that seat but me.
Oh, wow.
This is the first time that I sit on this end, too. So
Okay.
it's a little awkward to see black behind you because usually I always see red.
Okay.
But it's cool, man.
You get to admire your studio a little more.
Yeah, I will say that it's way nicer of a visual on this side
Okay.
because you got more artwork. It's nicer.
Dude, you did an excellent job, honestly.
Thanks, man.
This is a great place. As soon as you step in, you feel very creative, and it is honestly one of those places where you just want to do work.
Mm-hmm.
You just want to come in and you want to create. And this is what we're going to do right now.
Yeah.
We're going to create. And I picked this topic to talk about with you specifically because I know that you're very knowledgeable about this. And of course, we have a game coming up this Friday, USA against Mexico, World Cup qualifiers. These are games that you simply cannot miss because they're so intense. Doesn't matter what form each team comes in with. These games are always ridiculous. They're always high stakes. And you've been a person, Nick, that has talked quite highly of USA, of this new crop of incredible talent in the U.S. But you've gone as far as to say that
2026, baby.
2026 world champions.
We want the cup. It's
Okay.
coming.
Let's start off with that. Explain your reasoning behind that take that you have.
Listen, it's a topic I feel very passionate about. It's U.S. soccer. It's probably, I like to put it in a different tier when it comes to fandom for me because I'm a huge Giants fan, Knicks fan. Those are like my top two teams, and then right below that is Rangers and Mets. Right, depending on how well those teams are doing, that's how invested I get in it. I don't want to say bandwagon-y because I've been rooting for them for a long time. I just have a lot going on, so I can't watch everything. So there's certain priorities. When it comes to the U.S. soccer team, that might trump all of them. It's probably my number one favorite team, I would say. It's in a different category. Nationalism, patriotism.
Yeah.
It's a sport that, it's my first love is soccer. My side chick is football.
Okay. All right. That's a great way to put it.
So how this all came about, you watch teams emerge throughout cycles of history that are not your traditional powers. And what I mean by that, Argentina, Germany, Brazil, Italy, they're always going to be good.
Yeah.
Then you have those golden era, those silver era of soccer players that come up at the same time, i.e. Belgium.
Yes.
The 2014 to current, probably the best run Belgium's ever had, number one team in the FIFA rankings. 2014 World Cup, Colombia. They had not made a World Cup since 94 when Andres Escobar got killed with the own goal against the United States. They come back. That era of Colombian soccer between 84 to 94, they had won the Copa America, I believe. Didn't they win Copa? I'm pretty sure they won Copa America.
I think they won the Copa America in 2001, but their most famous win was against Argentina in the qualifiers when they went into Buenos Aires and they beat them 5-0. They beat the shit out of Argentina.
I remember that because my favorite 30 for 30 is the two Escobars.
That's a great 30 for 30.
For many, many reasons. And sorry, they got third place. Oh, they were the champions in 2001. You're right.
Mm-hmm.
And then
I know,
third
because they beat
place,
Mexico.
Third place. Yeah. Okay, so I stand corrected. But yeah, man, you look at those teams like Pelé came out and said in '94 that's his pick to win the World Cup, right? So where I'm going with this is you see these teams that pop out of nowhere with like the golden era of their generation when it comes to soccer.
Mm-hmm.
And now I feel like the US team now, this era, since failing to make the World Cup in 2018, this is the best crop of talent they have ever produced already. And the main reason for that, what do you think is the main reason for that?
I would say the amount of players that are in Europe and
that's exactly it.
And the age that they went to Europe. It's not like they went at 25, 26. They went at 14, 15.
Yeah.
So they were really young.
You have a lot of players who are playing in top flight clubs, Juventus, Dortmund, even though this is a Pulisic jersey, who now plays with Chelsea, won the Champions League last year. You look at Reina, who's now with Borussia, getting a lot of playing time. You look at so many guys in the Bundesliga, and you're playing on top flight clubs. You're getting a lot of playing time. And in Europe, dude, it's not like the MLS. They don't care if you're American out there. They want to know if you could play. All that other shit, the politics behind it. Oh, this kid is from this university or whatever it might be. No. Can you play or not? And our guys are playing at the high level, the highest level in the world. Europe is the NFL.
Yeah.
So every kid, whether you're from South America, Asia, Africa, it's going to Europe to play for a club like that. And you just look at the crop of players right now that are playing at high levels. Tyler Adams, RB Leipzig.
Yeah.
Right? Playing Champions League. I was watching the game the other day against Monaco. Not Monaco, sorry, PSG. I was thinking about Mbappe when he started on Monaco. But yeah, man, it's right now, it's the era that you should be really excited for U.S. soccer. And the reason why I keep saying 2026, the World Cup is here.
Mm-hmm. The final's going to be played in your backyard. Yeah.
60 of the 80 games are going to be played in the United States. So they're going to get the automatic bid. They won't need to worry about qualifying for 2026. Now, you might be saying to yourself, yo, there's a World Cup in 2022, next November. Yeah, but that one, we want to just get in, go through the growing pains, lose a penalty kick shootout in the quarters to like a Italy or a Belgium, have some heartbreak. But you take the proper steps to go into 2026.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to argue against what you just said. And I do feel like the U.S. has a big advantage, not only with the resources. I think that's pretty obvious, right? Yeah. I haven't walked around New York nearly as much because I've only been here for a couple of days. But I know that in Chicago, there's a lot of soccer fields. But the problem is that it is still pretty expensive to play in a club team.
That's the biggest downfall to U.S. soccer is that it's a very expensive sport for you to participate in.
Yeah, it is.
Hockey is the same thing. It's very expensive. And it's not so much the soccer equipment isn't expensive, but it's playing for a travel team, playing for a club team.
Yeah.
You play all year round. So it's very AAU-like in basketball. And it's just expensive, man. I remember I had my buddy Evan. He's a VP at this company in the city. I did a podcast and show with him talking about U.S. soccer because he played for Wisconsin.
I think I remember that.
Wisconsin University. This is going back to this prior to the 2018 World Cup. Because I remember I had picked Argentina. I bet a lot of money on Argentina the last couple of World Cups. Shouts to Messi, your boy. But I remember talking, and he's like, dude, my kids want to play club, but it's like I can't do everything. Like, you want to play club, cool, but that's like a $5,000 to $8,000 commitment for the summer. You can't go on vacation also because it's gonna take away from. You're gonna have to miss 2 weeks. Well, I paid all this money. It's just a very expensive sport.
Yeah. It is very expensive, and that's part of the reason why I'm sure a lot of kids have been drawn away from that because they simply can't afford it. And if you go, and this is an argument that I've always made, if you go to college to play soccer, you're gonna come out of there 22, 23.
Yeah, it's the same case that I make.
It's just not very, very likely for you to to go to Europe, and when you compare yourself to the 23, 24-year-olds over there,
they've had 7 to 8 years of professional play.
Exactly.
Well, the difference now, to push back a little bit, is Pulisic was playing in Borussia at 17. Reina's
That's the
playing
formula.
there at 17. Weston McKennie is playing at Schalke at 18. Tyler Adams, too, at 19 years old. He's playing over there. There's a lot of guys, or I believe he was 20 years old, but there's a lot of guys that are playing now at that level. In soccer, that's the biggest downfall, because in the United States, we value education. And this is not to shit on the education system. But if I have a son and I say at 14 years old, hey, man, I think you're really good. People tell me, like, that kid has the it factor. Right? You always hear about the it factor. If I'm to pull him out of school and bring him to Europe, that's kind of frowned upon.
It's super frowned upon, yeah.
To say, we're going to go all in on this kid to be an athlete. Like, what happens if he gets hurt and all that shit, and they put that in your head? But that's what it takes for you to be a professional soccer player and to be good at that level. Because when you graduate from college, you're 21, 22 years old. You go play for Newcastle United. Well, those kids that are on that team are the kids you're playing against in Manchester United and Arsenal and all these clubs. They're the same age as you, but they have 6, 7, 8 years of professional training, professional games under their belt.
Yeah.
It's a different animal.
They've been training with 35-year-olds.
Yeah. You're playing against men.
Yeah. Yeah. And
it's a different speed, the power, getting checked off the ball and possessing it. It's a whole different animal, man.
Yeah. I think you said something very, very important right there, the speed.
Oh, the speed is the biggest thing.
The speed of the game. It's so different, dude. But yeah, I mean, it's very different, and I think that the MLS has come a long way, but
well, it's still a young league too. I believe
it's like 27
they haven't had their 30th anniversary yet.
No, not yet. The 25th anniversary was last year during the pandemic. So
right, yeah, and they've expanded to more teams. Like in the beginning, I believe it was 12 or 14 teams. 12 teams, right? Yeah. Another thing I want to throw on this take about the men's team winning the World Cup in 2026 is that if you look at the players that are on the team right now, they're all in that 18 to 23 range.
Yeah,
so
they're young.
4 or 5 years from now, they'll be 23 to 27, and
the prime.
It's the prime. And if you look at the history of teams that have won the World Cup, a lot of them win it at home.
Yeah.
France in 98. Brazil's won it at home. Germany's won it at home. I believe Italy has won it at home.
Argentina won it at home in 78.
Won it at home. And then they also won it in Mexico in 86. They won it, yes. That's when my dad came to the United States. His favorite player ever is Maradona.
Can't blame him.
After that World Cup is when he came to the United States.
Okay.
So there's a lot of teams that go, even if you go back to South Korea, they went to the Final Four.
Yeah.
You go on those runs where you're at home. So it's something to be really excited about.
Yeah. And I mean, the infrastructure is incredible for the U.S. too. So of course they're going to host this World Cup and they're going to feel comfortable. And it's definitely something to look out for. I don't know if they're going to win it, but I do think that they should have a pretty deep run in that 2026 World Cup.
You see all those tweets that surface when a team wins a championship and it's like someone tweeted it out from like 2016 or 2017.
That's going to be you.
That's going to be my tweets in the U.S. wins the World Cup. That's going to be my big explosion breakthrough is going to be that when they win the World Cup.
Okay.
Because those tweets are going to be popping up. There's a video that I put out like last year during the pandemic.
I remember, yeah.
And it still gets hits.
Yeah.
It's close to like 25,000 hits on the YouTube channel.
Yeah. I remember that pretty clearly, man. That's funny. Hope for your sake, I hope so.
And dude, what about now? Isn't he Mexican, Pepe?
Yeah, Ricardo Pepe.
Bro, now they got a number 9.
That's an argument that I was making too when I think it was the September or the October international break when they beat Jamaica. Pepe scored twice, and then they beat Costa Rica, and then I think they lost to Panama in between.
Yeah, they lost to Panama.
Yeah, but
and then they bounced back with a big win. I think it was like 3 or 4-1.
Yeah, Serginho Dest scored a beautiful goal. Yeah. But I feel like having a number 9 makes your job as a coach that much easier. And we know that Greg Berhalter, we can get into that in a bit, but I know that he has been questioned a lot. People don't necessarily like the way that his team plays because they don't really know how his team plays. So it's a little difficult when you don't have a real number 9 that can solve any kind of problem. And now you have him, and he picked the U.S. over Mexico. So it's pretty crazy. It's very crazy. And he's what, 17, 18?
I believe he's 18.
Something like that. He's a rare case, similar to Tyler Adams, that they cracked it in the MLS very early on. You're talking about like 16, 17. Pepe plays for FC Dallas.
Yeah.
He plays for FC Dallas. And Tyler Adams, he played for the New York Red Bulls. That's why he went to Germany. He went to Red Bull Leipzig, or RB Leipzig. They don't like to be called Red Bull. But it's the very rare case. Could be a trend in the MLS, and that, man, if the MLS becomes an exporting league, man, I honestly don't think that there would be much of a competition here in this side of the world. I think Liga MX has fallen back years. They are in a poor position right now.
What's the league in this side of the world?
What do you
the
mean?
Americas? Like, what's the Premier League?
The Mexican League.
Even with the South American?
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Really?
It is because of the money that they bring in, the players that they bring in.
Interesting.
And here's the thing. Here's the one thing that Mexico is known for. Whatever Argentine, Brazilian, Ecuadorian, Colombian, Paraguayan, Uruguayan player that isn't good enough to go to Europe, Mexico snatches them up and they bring him. And he's quality, whoever that player may be. They're quality players. They just don't have enough quality, or maybe they didn't have the exposure to go to Europe, right? So Liga MX looks at them and they're like, okay, well, you couldn't crack it in Europe. Come over here. But now the MLS is competing. They've brought in guys like Ezequiel Barcos to Atlanta. Another guy from Atlanta, Gonzalo Martinez. They both played for River Plate. And is it Barcos or Palacios? I think it's Ezequiel Barco. But they played in Argentina. And now, like, there was rumors that they could go to Europe. And they're still somewhat young. They're like 24, 25. Those are the players that would go to Liga MX 15, 20 years ago. They don't want to go anymore. They know the money's here. The money is here. And yeah, of course, what would you rather earn? Mexican pesos or dollars? I mean, that's a dumb question. Obviously, we know, we all know what the answer is. So Liga MX was the premier league for many years. Maybe not so much anymore. And that's concerning.
I never would have guessed that. I would have thought the Argentinian league, because you got Boca, you got River Plate, like you mentioned, and then in Brazil, right? Flamengo, Palmeiras, I think.
Santos, Sao Paulo. Yeah, there's so many great teams. But
wow, so league.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that the Brazilian league is shit by any stretch of the imagination. Right. It's not. You watch those games and you're like, oh my goodness, these guys are ridiculous. But Mexico does bring in the most money. They have the most power. They have pretty much pushed everyone away. And they've said, you know what? We're doing things our way. If you guys agree, join us. If you don't, there's a door. They've been doing that. And sure enough, like with South America, there's not much of a relationship anymore. Mexico used to play Copa Libertadores, but of course they're like, oh, we don't like how we're treated. We can never host a final if we make it.
Well, the one thing that I wish the MLS did, and me, I don't watch the MLS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't watch a lot of soccer league-wise. I don't miss Champions League.
Okay.
We were talking about that the other night. We went to the bar, how I watch all the Champions League games because it's in such a good time slot in New York. It's a Tuesday and Wednesday in the afternoon, 2:45 or 3:45, and there's no other sports going on. There's no NFL, there's no NBA, there's nothing else that I'm interested in. And it's a nice little break, and the pace is nice. The games end in 2 hours, right? Something we talked about on my show when you were on there. And that's a way to, when I watch PSG, when I watch Barcelona, Madrid, I do follow Arsenal. I try to watch Arsenal as best as I could. That's my favorite team.
God bless you.
Yeah, it's been a rough decade. Thierry Henry, man, my favorite soccer player of all time. Thierry Henry.
Man, we've talked about him before, and he is ridiculous. Yeah. He was ridiculous at his heyday, and even towards the end of his career, pretty good, but go on.
Yeah, so I wish the MLS played in the Copa. It'd be so fire, man. That's how you would want to test yourself against the top teams, like in Atlanta FC when they won the MLS. Put them in the Copa the next year.
Yeah.
That dude Jose Martinez was.
Oh yeah.
Bro, I know he had I think he tore his ACL. But
you see, that's another example of the argument that I was making right now. That guy, 15 years ago, should be at America, not Chivas. Chivas doesn't take any foreign players. They only play with Mexicans. But he should be at Tigres, something like that. Look at where he's playing.
Yeah.
He's in Atlanta.
Yeah. But that's crazy, though. Atlanta became such a powerhouse in soccer. Like, they were having more fans per attendance than the Atlanta Falcons were.
I mean,
no, this is even the Falcons like during their Super Bowl run.
That's true.
Like, Atlanta
that's
hasn't
true.
been a bad football team.
Yeah,
they've made the playoffs a lot with Matt Ryan. They've been competitive. They've had a lot of players in fantasy, like obviously Mount St. Julio was down there. You had Calvin Ridley who was down there too. So you had a lot of guys that were exciting and you would pay to go see. And Atlanta FC was having a lot of people in the building, man.
Yeah,
huge.
Yeah,
even the Sounders. The Portland Timbers. I think there's a clause where those teams in like the B division, like the USL, those teams, you have to have a certain amount of season ticket holders to be eligible to be an MLS team. Like Cincinnati.
Yeah.
That's like one of the more recent ones.
Yeah. Yeah, man. And the MLS is just bringing in as many teams as they possibly can. I wouldn't be surprised if this in like 10 years it's a 40 team league.
Nah, that's too much, man.
It's way too much.
I'm already upset that they have this many teams.
Yeah, an elite league has 20 teams.
20 teams, yeah. You play everyone twice, and it's home and away, and you just balance out the schedule like that. It's Americanized, right? Like every league in America has 30 or more teams.
Mm-hmm.
So they probably wanted to do it like that. I'm not a fan of it. I don't like it. It's a lot. It's a lot of soccer, and it loses its luster.
Oh yeah.
What do? You play everyone twice? You're gonna play 50 something games? That's a lot, man.
Yeah, well they do play a lot of games. Think about it. This season started in April, and the regular season I think was still going on up until like last week. And it was a little bit condensed because of COVID. Mm-hmm. So yeah, and it was just announced actually. It was just announced that MLS, the 2022 season is going to start February 26th, if I'm not mistaken. Something like that. And it ends like, well, there's going to be a bit of a break there because of the World Cup. So God knows when it's going to end.
I'm already dreading next winter.
Yeah, especially like for you, your show.
It's going to be a lot.
The kind of content that you come up with, man, that must be crazy.
It's going to be, yeah. I've already been like thinking about it in the back of my head.
We're exactly a year away too.
November, the World Cup being there in Qatar is going to be brutal. In the middle of football season, playoff runs, God. NBA starting.
Yeah.
A UFC event that'll pop up. Like, it's just a lot.
MSG, because they always do it in November.
Yeah, November MSG card, yeah. It's going to be a lot, man. I'm really fascinated. Do you know what the leagues are going to do?
I think they're
going to go on break, or are they going to play through it?
I think they're going to go on break. They have to go on break. They have to. It's going to be a lot like how it was at the height of the pandemic when there was like no games going on. Mm-hmm. It's going to be a lot like that. Like seasons are going to end like in August, and then you're going to start right back in like September.
You are putting a lot of miles on these guys.
Ugh. Well, they're already complaining, man. They should be.
Is it the players or the owners?
No, the players. The players are complaining because those are the ones that they're the ones that are out there running around and getting on an airplane and getting treatment on an airplane.
If you're a player of Mbappe's stature, Neymar's, the Messis of the world, who go on deep Champions League runs, and you're playing in your league, and you're playing in the Cup League in your country.
Some countries have 2 Cup Leagues, dude.
Yeah. And you're playing in qualifiers, and then you're playing in international scrimmages to get accustomed to your teammates. Then you have the World Cup, which is the highest level of intensity for a soccer player when you play for your national team. It's just, I think of teams like Italy, who just won the Euro Cup, and now they go right into World Cup qualifiers, and they're in the Serie A, and a lot of players play at high-level clubs. It's just a lot, man. It's a lot of games. I would be concerned if I'm an owner and I'm paying this large sum of money to these players. I don't like when they go on international breaks.
No, because they always come back hurt.
They come back hurt. Or if I'm paying you 100 million euros a year, or 50, whatever it might be, and then you pull your hamstring with your national team just to get a cap against Slovenia. All right, no offense, Slovenia, but
Luka Doncic, shout out to him.
you come back. Yeah, shout out to him. You come back and you're hurt, and then you miss 3 weeks or 4 weeks of my season. It sucks.
Ugh. Yeah, and the owners of the teams should they probably should speak out a little more, but I'm sure that there's other reasons why they don't say, because maybe there's something in it for them. I'm not making any bold statement here. I'm sure there is, but it is what it is, man. Listen, we're gonna take a short break, then we'll get into like the I don't want to say the birth of the rivalry, but how you got into the rivalry between U.S. and Mexico. We got a little bit sidetracked here, but we will get right back to it. We'll talk about that. We'll talk about our favorite moments of the rivalry. We'll talk about predictions for this game coming up, but that'll be after the short break. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to Total Football Club. Alex Perez and Nick Dais here joining me. All right, Nick, let's get into it. How did you get into this rivalry? How were you introduced to this USA versus Mexico rivalry?
My first sports experience that I can remember vividly is the 2002 World Cup.
Oh, I know where you're going.
That's the first time where I was, what was I? I was 10? I was 11. Yeah, I was 11. I'm in the 5th grade. And that's when I was able to really understand. I remember the 98 World Cup, the French team. That's how I first fell in love with like Zidane and Henry. I showed you this and I've told it on my show and I've posted it a bunch. The first sports jersey I ever got was the 2002 World Cup French Zidane jersey. Still have it.
Saw it. Yeah.
So happy that my dad got it in a men's large when I was just 11 years old because it's still, like, I could still wear it. USA goes on a run in the World Cup. They beat Portugal back then with Luis Figo, Rui Costa, and those guys. Pauleta up top.
Yeah.
And they beat Mexico in the round of 16, 2-0.
Yeah.
And that's when because being from New York City, huge Latino community, massive. I mean, I was telling you down the road where I live, it's just so many Hispanics. And my high school was, white people in my high school were like the minority. It was a huge Black, Spanish, and Asian community, right? And when I played soccer growing up, I was always the white dude on the team. And my high school, my freshman year, the captain of our team was Mexican. Shouts to Chris. He was a senior. I was a freshman when I came in, and I didn't try out for the team because they knew me from club. We played on the same club team.
Okay.
So when I was 14, 15 years old, those guys were all 18 playing U18s. I was playing U14s, but there would be times we would scrimmage against them and I would hold my own and whatnot. So they had told the coach, so like, yo, white boy is good with us. Like, he's good with us. Like, you don't need to try him out for sure. But they would all say their pregame speeches in Spanish, pelota, right? I knew shit like that, cruzala and all that. Like, I knew some of the terms. Bro. I knew some of the terms, like some of the soccer terms. I did forget them, but I do remember some. But going back to that, man, I really got exposed to what that was like in 2002. And I just remember saying like, oh, shit, this is like the team in CONCACAF that you got to go through. Like Mexico, historically, a team who, yeah, they've never won a World Cup, but they're a team who is respected amongst the powers. Like when a Germany plays a Mexico or Brazil plays a Mexico, they get up for that game. They don't look down on the Mexican players. Whereas the Americans now are like the last decade, they're being respected by those powerhouse teams.
Yeah.
Would you agree?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. And it's the mentality that the American athlete has. And it's funny that you mentioned the 2002 World Cup because for me, that's like the first memory as well. I remember.
Damn, you were like, what, 4?
4. I was 4. I remember crying when Mexico lost to USA. I remember crying in bed. Um, I don't think I don't think I had my own room because we lived in an apartment. So I remember I was well, the game was early, but I think I caught the replay.
Yeah, because those games, dude,
And
that's another thing. The games were in Asia.
yeah, and I would get it. Dude, I was 4 years old and I was watching these World Cup games.
My dad wakes up at 2 a.m. for work to this day, and I remember he would wake me up and we would watch the first half of the 2:30 Eastern time games,
Wow.
and then he would leave for work and I would go back to bed.
Wow, that's awesome, dude.
Yeah, man. Yeah, and I remember Germany played Saudi Arabia.
What, that game ended like 8-0.
8-0. Yeah, bro.
That was crazy.
Yeah.
But that '02 World Cup, yeah, that I also in that World Cup, it was like Ronaldo, just Ronaldo. I wore the jersey and I brought it here.
Yeah,
It was his World Cup.
beautiful.
Thanks, man.
I want to steal it.
Listen, man, I'm a small dude, so I don't know. You might wear it to bed or something like that because you're
Nah,
you're
I saw the
you're.
size. That was the first thing that I saw. I was like, all right, this could definitely fit me.
Oh, okay, no, because you're big and you're a buff guy.
Thanks, man. Thank you for putting me over.
Absolutely, dude. Anytime. So yeah, we have the same first memory of the rivalry. That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah.
That is crazy. I mean, you were 12. I was 4. I don't even think I was 4 yet because my birthday's in August and the World Cup.
11. I was 11 for sure.
Yeah.
My birthday's in March, and that World Cup was in June, July-ish. So,
Yeah.
because I'm a 91.
Okay. Yeah. That's crazy that we have that first memory.
Ronaldo, and it was Oliver Kahn for Germany.
Yeah.
Michael Ballack, young Michael Ballack. You had asked me a couple of, we weren't recording anything, but we were like, yo, who are some of your favorite soccer players? And he was one of them.
Yeah, Michael
one of the
Ballack.
guys
That
that I
really
really-
surprised me. Really shocked me. That was
Yeah.
that was cool. That it's always nice to hear players like
Dude,
that.
I played soccer, and I was really good. Like, I was very, very good. And I stopped playing when I was 16 to play football. So a lot of times I get asked like what my biggest regret in life is, right? It was something I ask on the Patreon. And for me, it was probably quitting soccer when I did, because I was really good. Like, we had just went to Greece, played really well in this tournament with Cosmos, and I stopped playing because I fell in love with football. And now I had a good, it's hard to become a professional. Don't get it twisted. I'm not saying that. But I had a great chance if I continued playing soccer, because I really stopped at like my peak.
Mm.
And then flip side of that is it really a regret, because I fell in love with football and that's given me everything that I'm doing now. So it's not really a regret. But from a playing, yeah, that probably I would say. But I loved guys like Pirlo, Gilberto Silva.
Jesus.
Played for Arsenal.
Wow, what a name drop, bro.
I played defensive midfield, man.
Okay.
I was never a fast guy.
Yeah.
Never ran fast, but I was a gas tank guy. 90 minutes, no problem. Never
Yeah.
got tired. I was good on set pieces. I was good in the air. Played long balls. Chick stick the long ball. You know what I'm saying? So I love David Beckham, Ballack. Michael Essien on Ghana was a big guy of mine. I know he was a little later on, but I love
My guy,
players.
Michael Essien. Shout
I
out
love
to him.
players like him and players like that. Yeah.
Wow.
But that's another guy from the '02 World Cup.
Yeah.
Really balled out.
Yeah, Michael Ballack. Wow, that's crazy,
You
dude.
didn't know. You thought I didn't know about Gilberto Silva, right?
Well, he
Dude,
played for
Arsenal,
Arsenal,
yeah,
and I will say
Patrick
this.
Vieira,
You
too.
beat me to it.
That
I
was-
knew you were
yeah,
gonna say
yeah.
something like that.
Him
Yeah.
and Makalele,
Okay. Yeah.
those guys. I love the holding midfielders was my favorite position.
Okay. So right now you would be like into an N'Golo Kante kind of player.
Yeah.
Like that's who you would
Yeah, Conte,
gravitate towards.
Jorginho.
Jorginho. Yeah, of course.
Those are the kind of guys where Jorginho takes all the set, like he takes all the penalty kicks, corners, shit like that. Like that's the
Yeah.
kind of player that I was like.
That's interesting, man. Because that position very rarely gets any love. Very
Oh,
rarely
no.
gets any shine. Up until like this Euro, when people were looking at Jorginho and they were
Well, I
seeing
would
what
push
he did.
back. I think the 2018 World Cup
Oh, with Conte.
with Conte, because
right.
remember with Leicester,
That's true. Yeah.
that's really when that position started getting love.
Yeah.
Like, yo, Conte is the anchor of that whole team.
Yeah.
Then he leaves, goes to Chelsea, and they become a powerhouse. So, I mean, they were always a powerhouse, but That guys like that, they're very underappreciated because you're not scoring goals.
No.
You're doing a lot of the dirty work. There used to be this kid, James. Still friends with him now. He was an attacking midfielder, but he was very skilled, very technical, very flashy.
Yeah.
Indonesian kid. And he had played for the national team for Indonesia too.
Oh, wow.
And we played on the same club team together. And our school rivals, your boy Chris, who you do your show with.
Shout out to Chris.
The high school he went to and my high school, we were rivals. James went to that high school with my buddy Petey, and I went to Bryan High School, and we were like arch nemesis. We played each other twice a year. And he played attacking midfield, I played defensive. So when we played each other in high school, we were going up against each other.
Yeah.
And there was one game where I completely just like blanketed him just because I knew his every move, right? And we were so good because that position, like Conte, like Jorginho, the guy ahead of you is allowed to do all the dumb shit that he does. And what I mean by dumb shit is like he's allowed to get creative. He's allowed to turn the ball over in the midfield, which you should never turn the ball over in the midfield.
No.
But you allow them to do your step overs and all those moves because you have a guy behind them that could clean up. And that's what I was. It's the cleanup guy.
Nice.
You don't get the same attention as the attacking guys.
Yeah, no. Because you said it best. You don't score the goals.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty cool to hear. It's nice to hear. My brother's a defender, and he plays fullback sometimes, and he rarely scores a goal, right? He'll rarely score a goal, but it's funny hearing.
So I got my fix from scoring goals because I took all the set pieces.
Okay.
So I would score free kicks. I scored a corner off a corner, like the bend in high school. My freshman year, I led the entire city in yellow cards.
Of course.
As a freshman.
Of course.
And I scored, I think, 8 goals my freshman year. And I was playing out of position in my high school. I played like left wing. Terrible. But that's where I was
playing. Jack Grealish type. Not very speedy, but, you were doing...
Crafty.
Yeah, crafty. Let me ask you this, Nick.
Mm-hmm.
How do the Americans, people who have absolutely no ties to Mexico, bringing it all back, how do you guys view the Mexican national team? Because I can view it one way, but I'm Mexican-American. So I feel like my view is a little skewed. You have no dog in this fight. How do you view the Mexican national team?
Forever a quarterfinalist. In every major tournament, when I think of them, obviously not Gold Cup and CONCACAF,
yeah.
But when it comes to like a world stage, quarterfinals, that's like the ceiling that I think of them. And they have a lot of guys who play better, I feel like, for the Mexican team than they do for club.
Yes. I'd say most of them.
So, I mean, the most famous one, I would say, is Blanco, right? And then Neri Castillo used to play for a team in Greece.
Yes.
He was like a forward.
What a name drop. Dude, these name drops are getting me really excited right now.
And I mean, Marquez is probably the most well-known one, right?
To me, he's the best Mexican player of all time.
Yeah, played for Barcelona, staple.
That's the reason why I root for Barcelona. Right. Yeah, and he's from the same state that my parents are from, in Mexico.
Oh.
So he's about... he's like a 2-hour drive away. Like his hometown is like a 2-hour drive away from my parents' hometown.
Yeah.
So
the Mexican team, they're a team who like you're not gonna blow them out. I don't remember like a 5-1 loss or a 3-0 loss. Like it's always gonna be 1-0, 2-1, a draw. They're gonna play you tough. They're a scrappy team, and their guys do play better. I'm happy that you agreed with that because it's also nice. It's nice to hear from someone who has no dog in the fight and then someone who actually follows. And if you can align your analysis, that's very telling. Yeah. So for you to say that those players play better for their national team than they do for club makes me feel better. Like, all right, this is making sense what I'm seeing.
No, absolutely. And there's a lot of players that don't really get much of a shot. Like they go to Europe and they don't get much of a shot in Europe. Why that is, I have no idea. Maybe they don't work hard enough, which... That is a bit of a stereotype with the Mexican player. They reach Europe and suddenly they think that they're Messi. Suddenly they think they're Ronaldo.
The Dos Santos brother?
Oh God, yeah.
He played on Barcelona for a little bit.
Both of them did. Both of them. But I mean, one of them is pretty much retired, the older one, and then the younger one plays for Galaxy. I think he still plays for Galaxy, or his contract was terminated, something like that. But
Oh, dude, Chicharito too. How did we forget him?
Yeah,
He's another.
Yeah,
He's probably the most marketable Mexican soccer player ever.
he is, and he
Because
also
of the name too, and he played on big clubs, Real Madrid,
Manchester
Man U.
United.
Yeah.
Yeah. So with him, the thing is that I feel like his career, and this is something that Mariano Trujillo from Fox, shout out to him. Mariano Trujillo said that Chicharito is the best Mexican player of all time. That's what he thinks, and he says
That's not a crazy take. If he's not one, he's two.
he explained it perfectly. I'm like, okay. I do feel like maybe we forget about Hugo Sanchez. He's like from the 80s, with the chilena, the bicycle kicks and stuff like that. He made that pretty relevant. But yeah, man, I just feel like with Chicharito, the thing with him is that he went to Europe. He killed it the first season. He was okay the second season, and then he just fizzled out. And then he had that odd good season with Bayer Leverkusen. And then at West Ham, he didn't cut it. He had like a nice 3-4 game streak where he scored consecutive goals. But then he went to Sevilla. Then he came back to this side of the world. So it just, I don't want to say that he hit lightning in the bottle because that is very unfair. But yeah, man, it's hard to disagree with you because with him, with Chicharito, he would go 6-7 games without playing at Manchester with David Moyes. And then he would come over here and he scored a goal against Croatia in that group stage game in the 2014 World Cup. By the way, I don't think I've ever celebrated as much as when we beat Croatia. Nothing against Croatia, but it was
you
just
also beat Germany too.
That was in 2018. That game, I think that game took some years off my life. Like, I'm convinced that game took some years off my life. Like, my mom walked in when the game was over. She's like, dude, you're pale. I'm like, I know. I don't feel my hands. It was crazy. But with Croatia, like, I enjoyed that game so much. I celebrated it so much. Anyway.
I'm going to have to show this to Alan because he's Croatian.
Well, I think I'm going to see him later.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I'll tell him. It's okay. I'll tell him. I'll tell him. And we beat him in the 0-2 World Cup as well. Right. We beat him with a penalty with the Cuauhtemoc Blanco. But yeah, I feel like your view of the Mexican national team, dude, spot on. Mm-hmm. Everyone sees us like that. Everyone sees us like that except for us. We think that we're world champions. We think that we should be world champions. Like, no, what have we done to prove it? What? We won a World Cup U17? Cool. The under 17s, they won it twice. Good for them. We've all celebrated.
But yeah, we've seen that happen though. Like Switzerland won the World Cup, the U19s. This era of the Swiss players.
Ukraine.
Yeah, Shaqiri, the goalie, Sommer.
Oh yeah.
Rodriguez.
Yeah.
The back.
Shaka. I think Shaka
played for Arsenal.
But it doesn't mean much if you can't follow through with it. You know, when Brazil wins a U20 or a U17 World Cup, you're like, okay. There's going to be a lot of these guys are going to be playing for City, Barca, Real Madrid, Chelsea, Arsenal, whatever the case may be.
Can I give you a Brazil take?
Yeah.
As long as Neymar's on the team, they'll never win a World Cup.
It hurts, but it's true.
They won the Copa without him.
They did. And then with him, they lost the final to Argentina.
Yeah. Listen, man, there's just something about it. He's a hell of a player. Right now, he's my favorite player to watch.
Yeah.
Across all sports, he might be my favorite player to watch. When he's on, man, talk about flash, charisma, skill. But there are games where he just goes completely missing.
Yeah.
And with Brazil, he's a hell of a player. Could it be the pressure of being the number 10 for Brazil? Because that means a lot. Could be. But I don't think they win a World Cup with him on the team.
Interesting. Very interesting.
I knew that I threw a little curveball at you, but it's something I've wanted to share for a while.
I like it. I'm going to keep that in the back of my mind. And I will also say this, Nick. If you want to watch a game where Neymar absolutely balled out.
It's the 6-1 against PSG, right?
I wasn't even thinking of that one. I was thinking of like a very obscure game. But yeah, that's a great example.
That's
but the one that
takeover.
Yeah. And the one that I was thinking about is a quarterfinal in the Champions League last year against Atalanta, where Atalanta started winning. They were winning up until like the 88th minute. But Neymar was balling out. Mbappe was hurt. So it was just Neymar. Neymar was doing everything. He was playing unbelievable. And he didn't score a goal in that game. So it just shows you that When he wants to, he takes over. All right. What's your favorite memory of the rivalry between U.S. and Mexico? Your absolute favorite. You're gonna tell this. You're gonna talk about this memory to your kids, to your grandkids.
This might be recency bias, but I think the final over the summer in the Gold Cup, because
in the Gold Cup or the Nations League? Because remember they played two like in the month.
Yeah, well, the one that the Turner, no, not Turner, Horvath.
Oh,
No, I think that was the actual Gold Cup.
They both went to extra time. The one that was played in Vegas.
I believe no, not the one in Vegas.
Oh, okay. So then it was a Nations League.
Played.
Okay, it was a Nations League then. Yeah,
that one I think, because you got to see that should be the World Cup roster. That 11 that the U.S. put out, with the exception of like maybe Pepe sliding in, that should be the 11 you go with. And to see them play against Mexico and to battle back and to have some fuckery go against them too, and then the changing goalie, that I would say is my favorite one.
Interesting.
Yeah.
It was a good memory for U.S. I'm assuming it is not so much for me, but
yeah. Pulisic scores the penalty, and then
that was a beautiful penalty, by the way.
Then they give up the penalty, and he saves it.
Guardado missed. Unreal. That was
backup goalie too. Like that was gangster, bro.
That was. It showed a lot of American grit.
Yeah. What would you say is your favorite?
My favorite, 2009, on the road to the 2010 World Cup. Mexico, USA, Estadio Azteca Stadium. USA starts winning, and then I don't remember who scored from at the beginning of the final third of US's final third. Just has a shot, a banger, ties it up, and then like at the 78th, 82nd minute, this player named Miguel Saba. No one watching this, I'm assuming no one knows who he is. He scored with there was no angle for him to score, and he just toe pokes in, and it goes over Tim Howard 2-1. Mexico wins. The Azteca Stadium loses their shit. Incredible. It was played like on a Wednesday at 3 p.m. I remember Mexico had just changed managers. They had Sven-Goran Eriksson as manager. Remember him? He was a manager.
The England 2002 team.
Exactly. And then they brought in Javier Aguirre, who's a staple of Mexican soccer. Great player. Played in the 86 World Cup. Coached in the 02 World Cup. Came in to save Mexico. His first game in that World Cup qualifier was actually a loss to El Salvador. And then he comes in and he beats USA. And then they just cruise to a qualifying spot for South Africa 2010. That was one of my favorite memories because I was a little bit skeptical that maybe they weren't going to go to the World Cup, but they beat the US, and I'm like, okay, I think we're going to play in June next year. Mm-hmm. I think so. But that was great, man. And listen, I'm sure there will be a lot of people here that will agree, and they will know that this is how we all feel. As a Mexican American, I will always root for the US unless they're playing against Mexico. If they're playing against Mexico, I'm wearing green. That's how it goes. That's how I was taught. That's how I was raised. I didn't have a US shirt until I was like 12. So, yeah, I didn't really root much for the US. It was all Mexico, and I I don't want to say that I blame it, but I think in part of it is because of my uncles and the way that they watch the game. Obviously, they migrated here to this country, and that's it. People might say, well, like, you're American, why don't you root for the US? I do root for the US, and I hope that they win the World Cup in 2026, but I do think that they're closer to winning a World Cup than Mexico is.
Oh, nice.
I
would agree too.
I just don't see it with Mexico. We always shoot ourselves in the foot.
Yeah.
Always. But yeah, that's my favorite memory. Really quick before we wrap up, who do you think wins this first qualifying game of the 2022? Is
the game in the States?
It's in Cincinnati.
Yuck.
I know. It should be played in Columbus.
Should be played in New York.
Yeah, but they usually, whenever Mexico comes to town, it's usually to Columbus. But in New York, that would be pretty cool.
That'd be dope because I think they sell out.
Yeah.
And I
Well, in
think
Cincinnati, it's sold out. It's
Yeah,
been sold out for like a month.
yeah, but what's the capacity in Cincinnati?
I have no idea. I think I should look that up.
MetLife is like close to 75,000 people.
Yeah.
And there'd be a lot of Mexicans.
Yeah.
A lot of Mexican fans too.
Who do you think wins? Or what do you think? Oh, it's 26,000, by the way. It's not that many.
Yeah, it's about 3 times the size MetLife is today.
And it was just open in May.
Well, I'm pretty sure Pulisic isn't going to be with the team.
I think he should be.
There's an American guy who's not coming. Is it Dest?
Yeah, he's hurt.
There's a big name American guy who's not coming.
Yeah.
Look, man, a draw would be nice. Getting points. You should get points. And it's a good test. Look, this is the only game that I for sure tune into. You should be beating Panama. You should be beating Costa Rica. You should be beating those teams. The class of CONCACAF is the U.S. and the Mexican team.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, it definitely is. And what your official prediction? You're going to...
I think a tie.
Okay.
I think a tie. A win would be nice. They are more likely to win at home than they are to win in Mexico.
Yeah, in Mexico, it's very difficult.
So I think a tie. Unless they send Reyna, they send Pulisic, they send all their guys. That would be dope.
Well, I do think that the only player missing is going to be Serginho Dest. And looks like John Brooks isn't going to go. I mean, but yeah, it's looking very likely that Pulisic is going to play, and I feel like he's a big X factor in this in this team. I think we can even look up. Yeah, we still have some time.
I got the roster in front of me.
I was going to look it up right now. But yeah, go on. Who do you think is missing, and who do you think shouldn't?
McKinney's going to be there. Musa's another guy I like a lot.
Yunus
too.
Musa, yeah, Valencia player.
I like him a lot, man. Tyler Adams is going to be there.
Okay. Feisty. He's a New Yorker, isn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can tell. Very feisty player.
Pulisic is going to be there. Pepe's going to be there. Aronson's going to be there. Tim Weah, who I was very high on because his dad was a
George Weah,
iconic player for AC Milan.
Ballon d'Or winner. I think the only African player to win.
African player. And think about how many great African soccer players there have been.
So many. So many.
Yeah,
but
they're sending Stefan. He just read up on Manchester City also.
Yes.
Matt Turner's going to be there. So, look, outside of Dest, it's pretty much everyone that you're going to see. And there's no Reyna, too. So, no Reyna, no Dest. That's massive because 2 of the 5 best players that they have.
Yeah. Interesting. Okay. I think that just based on form, USA has been very underwhelming this whole qualifying process. I think that they've been very underwhelming, and so has Mexico. They lack that goal scoring ability. They kind of can't score at will. They score when things are like perfectly aligned. So I don't know. I feel like both teams have been underwhelming. They're kind of just cruising through, but I don't know, man.
I think one big issue that both of them face is the weakness of CONCACAF.
Exactly.
So then when you do, what would be dope? I think I've asked you this off air before, conversations we've had, but why doesn't the top 4 CONCACAF teams go to Copa America?
That's the same question I've been asking myself for like 5 years.
Didn't they used to do that way back in the day?
Yeah, it would be Mexico would always go.
And then they've sent Jamaica. They've sent the U.S. also.
Yes.
But that's when the U.S. was bad. Send them down there. Send them down there to compete with Uruguay and Paraguay and Colombia, Brazil, Argentina.
That's how you grow.
That is how you grow. And even Canada's not that bad now.
Canada's
Davies might be the best North American soccer player right now. Dude just turned 21.
Yeah.
That is wild.
That's crazy.
That is wild.
That is crazy.
When they won the Champions League with Bayern Munich,
he was 19.
He was the best player on the field in that final against PSG.
Yeah. And in that whole run.
Yeah, didn't they beat the shit out of Barcelona?
8-2.
8-2.
Yeah.
Yikes.
That was bad. that was one of the few moments where I questioned my fandom. But yeah, I think they play to a draw. I think it's going to be somewhat of a high scoring draw. I think 2-2 would be ideal for this type of situation. And yeah, for Mexico, and then Mexican media hates to say these things, but I'm going to say it because I'm fair. they need to get points. In Mexico, no, you have to beat USA because USA can never be better than us. And that's kind of how they view USA here or in Mexico. They can never be better than us. They're better at us. They're better than us at everything except for this. This is what we have over them. And we cannot let them have this too. So it's always like, no, we have to win. We have to win. We have to win. I think they play to a draw, 2-2. It's going to be chaotic. It's going to be crazy as it always is. It's going to be cold. I'm assuming very cold. So I think they play to a draw. A 2-2 would be very exciting. Let's wait and see. Let's see what happens.